Everybody, to another edition of Frontera Radio. I am your host, Sergio Mora. We have another good episode for you today. Another candidate that is running for city council. We have Fernando Baldazo. He is running for city council District 6. Welcome, Fernando, to Frontera.
Thank you for inviting me, Sergio.
Fernando, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in running. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, I'm from Laredo.
Your background.
I'm from Laredo. I graduated from Nixon High School back in the 80s. Then I went to LSU, which is in Laredo State University, which is now TAMU. And I immediately started working in the trade industry. I've been working in the trade industry for over 30 years.
Yeah.
I had a trucking company that I sold, and I continue doing work for the trade industry, doing logistic problem solutions. My business right now currently is just solving problems for the trade industry. And I think that problem-solving skill is what you need to be a good councilman.
Hey, Fernando, you've been involved in politics before. Like this is your first time running for office, but you've always been involved and vocal about political issues. What made you decide that this is the time to run for office?
Okay, good question. As you said, I've been involved in politics by reading the agenda. I probably read all the agendas, or at least 95% of them, from the last 7 to 10 years. I voice my opinion either in person or I send in my comment. But really, with Laredo Cycling Club, the nonprofit that I run, I started getting involved with city council when we will go try to get funds. Then when there are issues that affect the cycling community.
Yeah.
For example, Springfield expansion.
Yeah.
So not about negotiating, but about trying to work out, how can it affect us less, how it can maybe even use that situation, which is adverse for cyclists because we're going to have less mileage to ride, turn it into something positive. And what we did, we talked to the councilman for District 6, and we came up with an idea where we can expand the trails. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started getting involved in politics. And it went as far as getting a grant as well. We applied for a grant with Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
This year, yeah. As you know, Mr. Richard Raymond mentioned that the city hasn't been able to get a grant since 2015. In January, I wrote a letter to Texas Park and Wildlife, along with, obviously, Mr. Gomez from Parks and a few of us. But I had to pledge at least 10 volunteers for the grant to be approved, write a letter, as a cycling activist, and the grant was awarded. And now we have the money, $270,000 for next year to use on that park that was affected by Springfield expansion. Yeah. So I turned something negative into something positive. Make the best out of the situation.
Yeah, that's great. Somebody had told me, a member of the Parks and Wildlife said, did you know that there's around that amount, that around $300,000 for the Shiloh bike trails? I had no idea. That's great. I mean, I ride that trail almost every day, man. And tell us a little bit about your involvement with the cycling community and also your thoughts on the quality of life issue that is bicycling and trails and things of that nature.
Okay, we started a group of cyclists 30 years ago, probably more, early 90s. And we started building trails for ourselves. But then the community, the sport started expanding. So we turned it into a local race. That local race turned into state race. We made it into state race. So now from 50 to 60 local guys racing, it was 600 guys racing for the state championship. And Laredo, because of the location, the weather that we have, January, we usually hit 90s, in January.
Yeah.
So the first race of the series was in Laredo. So now we were bringing sports tourism.
Okay.
And I'm talking about 35 years ago. I was already doing, bringing in resources, bringing in people to Laredo with community work. That club, we started expanding. We were a bit disorganized, but we organized ourselves about 15, 16 years ago. And the club now boasts about 350 members. So we've grown the sport. We have events here. We expanded into several cycling teams. But all of us are under the umbrella of Laredo Cycling Club. Me, myself, I organize about 4 events to promote family and wellness, health among everybody in the city. So the events that I do are completely free, are for the community, and it's just to promote, healthy lifestyle.
What are your plans, if elected, to promote that aspect of sport?
A healthier lifestyle. Well, we're blessed with the weather that we have. It might be really hot certain times of the day and certain times of the year only, but we can do the same stuff that I've been doing before. Let's do any kind of a sports event. It could be a half marathon. We used to have a half marathon, but we can, by creating a better park, expanding our parks, building a community, a healthier community, then we'll start doing events where people from out of town start coming in, and that's how you create sports tourism. But we need to have the infrastructure. So we'll begin by doing a better infrastructure, parks and trails, improving them and expanding them. Then we'll bring in sports tourism.
Is there any plans to, how much is that grant going to add to the Shiloh bike trails? And is there any other plans to create more bike trails? Because right now they have the Mines Road, La Bota Ranch bike trails, and there's the Shiloh bike trails for mountain biking. I tell people that during the pandemic that sport just exploded. Everybody got into mountain biking, not only here, but I mean in Mexico, everywhere, and in northern Mexico, a lot.
Yeah, since gyms were closed,
gymnasiums
were closed, basketball courts were closed. Everybody went and bought a bike.
Yeah,
and the sport just boomed. It just went. So even the stores, it was so big, the boom, that even the stores ran out of bikes, parts, everything. Yeah, it was just a big boom. But, the grant is specifically for Shiloh trails. Mm-hmm. So anything connected, the grant, might be expanded into North Central Park. But I don't know if you're aware of this, but Shiloh bike trails went to a private investor. Okay, so in around March, is when we lost some of the trails. We lost La Bota and we lost Morales bike trails.
Yeah.
But hopefully, with this new council, we can work a deal where we can recover La Bota and Morales. And again, keep the sport, growing. Not just cycling, but, there's baseball as well.
Yeah.
There's the Little League, that brings in a lot of tourism. And it just happened. I just realized I didn't know how many people were coming in for the World Series, the Little League World Series. But a cyclist that I've never met, but, we're all family. She was doing a ride from from Mexico City to Chicago. She could not find a place to stay. All hotels. And they called me and said, she can stay at my place because she needed to ride out at 4. And so I didn't know how important that was. So just like, with Little League, we can probably do it with soccer. We can probably do it with other sports because, it doesn't rain much. We can use it to our advantage. Instead of complaining that it doesn't rain, well, let's make tournaments since we're almost certain that we're going to have, a sunny day.
Definitely. Fernando, tell us a little bit about your plans for the district and for the city in general. If you are elected, what drove you to, like you said, you've always been very vocal, you've always been paying attention. What are your concerns regarding the state of the city right now? There's been a lot of controversy. There was recently one of the employees went up in a very public way to complain about a toxic work environment. There's people intimidating people, retaliation, a toxic work environment. There's a high turnover of city attorneys. You name it. They lost $1 million the other day.
1.1.
$1.1 million. Questions are like, well, doesn't the council have to approve anything over $50,000? And why did they sign off
exactly.
on this $1 million?
I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but
even
if we had 3 hours, I couldn't finish.
Yeah.
But let's stick to the most important ones.
Yeah.
Like just to finish up on what you were saying, if you need council approval for $50,000 and more, how can this 1.1 got slipped by everybody? Or is everybody in? We don't know. Even if it's under 50,000, I think there's about 4 people that have to sign off on that check. You just cannot sign one person. Has to be oversight on it. So what drove me the most, it was once, corruption is everywhere, companies, whatever. If you want to do it, I mean, that's not something that I agree with. I would not do it. But, if somebody's getting a kickback, it eventually, the truth is going to come out sometime. It will catch up to you. But when corruption starts affecting our life, starts killing people, for an example, 75% of the city was left without water.
Yeah.
And that's part of corruption. Well, there was no exchange of money. No, but there was a political favor. They fired the wrong guy.
Yeah.
They fired the engineer, and the court proved it that it was wrong to terminate that engineer. They have appealed the decision, and they still will not reinstate the engineer. And we're just losing money. Consulting firms, legal representation, and it's our taxes. And that's what gets me angry, because you see, I look at classifieds. I read the paper every day. People still ask me, like, why do you read the paper? Well, there's some information that's not available on the internet, local information. I read classified. And I talked to some people that they're selling like this huge barbecue pit, or they're selling a vehicle in good condition. And I ask them, why are you selling it? Well, we need to pay our taxes. Well, we all pay our taxes. And, it kind of gets personal when that person is selling their possessions so they can pay their taxes, just so these people can mismanage that property. I mean, those taxes.
Yeah.
And I think that's completely wrong. And so this happened with the water. I did a whole investigation on the water, what really happened. When there's a problem in transportation, or when I have my company, and even with this company, the first thing you do is solve the problem. Once you solve the immediate problem, then you look for the root of the problem. If not, it's going to happen again. So then you solve, first, let's reinstate the water. Water is for everybody already. Okay. Now we go back to what really happened. So I went to what really happened. Me as a private citizen, okay? And I talked to so many people. I read text, I read emails, and it turns out that they fired this engineer, but they hired a guy who was not qualified at all, with zero experience in charge of that. I think it was the valves or the water plant, not the water plant, but they put him as supervisor somewhere. And that guy created this mess. That person created this mess. But he's not much at fault as it is the person that put him there.
Yeah.
There's several people at fault. So until we solve that issue, why work on infrastructure? Why work on something else if we're just still going to have unqualified people doing the job? So I went to the water plant. This water plant processes about 65 million gallons of water a day. At Pico, about 20 million.
Yeah.
So we have about 85 million gallons a day of water production distributed over 500 miles of pipes. But the water that produces about 75%, the water plant that produces about 75% of our water has a lab from the 50s. I saw it. No one told me. I saw it. I was in there. Like, I can't believe, So these guys are doing the best they can with the resources. And if, once I get into the position, if elected, well, that's one thing we need to do, because that's vital. That's vital. We need to have better tools so they can do a better job.
Why do they have a lab from the 50s? I mean, aren't they supposed to be upgrading that equipment every so
They
often?
have some good equipment. I guess the water monitor that tells them exactly where they're at if they're meeting state standards, and they were about half, or even they were about way below half of the standards. So they were it was good quality water being produced. But the rest, they're taking time and taking samples and walking everywhere, wasting a lot of time, and when they can be used in a better way, those resources.
And you're saying that the guy that was in charge of the water plant was unqualified to be there?
Not the guy in charge of the water plant, but somebody, the person that made the mistake was not qualified.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's not related to the guy that's in charge of the water plant. This is somebody, one of the higher-ups, either council, either city managers, assistant city managers, somewhere up there gave the order to hire this guy. And that's something we need to stop.
Well, this isn't, I think, unique to that department. I mean, also goes all the way up to city department heads.
Exactly. It's not just that department, is everywhere. This is rampant on every place, except I think maybe law enforcement. I think you have to be trained and you have to acquire X amount of. You have to pass a test, so they keep it better, and maybe firefighters as well. But on the other departments, I think this is rampant. And what we need to do to stop that is just have. The way I do it, when I went into a company, with my company, I incentivize people. How do you incentivize them? Well, that's something we'll look at it once we're there. What's allowed under the law? What can be done? But once you incentivize people and you promote the person that's qualified for the job, then everybody's going to be okay. But, let's say you work at a company with 50 employees. You've been in the company for 15 years. Here comes somebody that's related to the owner. He's been there 6 months, and they promote him to be your supervisor or your boss. You're going to be upset. Naturally, he's unqualified. He's just going to make mistakes. They're going to blame you. So that's what creates a toxic environment.
And you deserve that promotion.
You deserve it. You'll do a better job for the company. You've been there longer. So what happens, they promote this person that's been there 6 months, it's unqualified. And that's what creates a toxic environment, because now you get blamed for mistakes he makes because you're under him. He blames you, and it just creates all this toxic environment. And you're not getting paid what you're supposed to get paid for your commitment to the company. And these people are committed to the city, and the promotions are not in line with their experience or their knowledge.
You have an issue where the decisions are based on political reasons, where a city councilman interferes with a department head or the city manager and says, I owe this guy, or this guy gave me a campaign contribution, or he's my buddy, he helped me get elected, and I want you to give this contract to this guy, or I want you to hire this guy's nephew. He's a good politiquero. He brought me 500 votes, or I'm going to need him for the next election. Hire this person, or this person is so-and-so's daughter or son, and hire this person. And I mean, after a while, you get a city that's famous for having all these kinds of people in positions of authority and responsibility that don't have the qualifications or the experience to be there. Big problem. You just described it in detail. How do you fix it in terms of this seems to be institutional? This seems to be part of the culture.
It's real simple. I mean, somebody wants to be in that department, like, sure, test them just like everybody else, give them the same application. If you qualify, you're going to be in line, and just treat them like everybody else, just fill out your application. Just everybody should be treated equally, and because you want to stop the toxic work environment. And that's how you start, from the root. Everybody equally. Whoever deserves a promotion gets the promotion, and just to tell you, when I had my trucking company for about 20 years,
Yeah.
only one driver quit on me, and he quit because he was going to another company. If you treat guys fairly, they'll stay with you. Employees fairly, what they deserve, they'll give you back the same. You know, I wanted from them a real strict on punctuality. I could not deliver late loads. I would ask for them a lot, but I would also give them incentives. I would also give them uniforms. I would give them extra that other companies don't, so they wouldn't leave, and they never left.
Are you proposing to set up a system of incentives and to treat the employees of the city better?
Yes. I mean, again, we need to see what's allowed under the law. Yeah. But I mean, there's ways of incentivizing, you know, either with dinner, you know, that can be donated by restaurants, either with public exposure, recognition, a badge, something. You incentivize them. Okay. But you have to be fair, you know, to incentivize people. You know, those people that want the incentive is because they really want it, not because they're your friends, you know. And, you know, you put a system of checks and balances where, you know, everybody agrees, yeah, that person deserves that promotion or that person deserves that incentive. And you will have, from a toxic work environment, now people working as a team.
If elected, one of the first decisions that you will make as a council member is to choose the new city manager, and that just happens by circumstance. Uh-huh. Our most recent city manager resigned, Robert Eads, and then there's been a couple of interims. I think we're on our second interim. And before Robert Eads, he was like the third or fourth in line of just a series of city managers that lasted, I mean, approximately a year each of them leaving with a $600,000 golden parachute. Which, I mean, when you talk about it's the people's taxes, I mean.
Yeah, it's the people that sold his vehicle, is the person that sold his barbecue pit that he said, you know, that he built, you know, they're expensive. They're like $2,000. A good barbecue pit's $2,000, $4,000. Yeah. And they sell them because they need to pay their taxes or their house is going to be on the steps of the court, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So you have this city manager search, mm-hmm. and they've done it a few times now, and every time we have argued saying we need to pick the best qualified. And I mean, and you pay attention to these things. They will they announce we're doing a nationwide search, and you get applicants from all across the country, people that have managed way, way bigger cities than Laredo. They fill out their resumes, applications, letters of recommendation, references. They get an interview. They fly down to Laredo, but then they realize that it's a sham. They were gonna go with Eads, with Olivares, with De Leon.
I'll tell you an experience. You know, I feel bad. You know, when they started searching for a new city manager, we're having coffee with some friends that I have coffee with in the morning, talk politics, whatever's on the paper. Yeah. You know, we meet briefly for about 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and we all bet who they're going to pick, even before the interview started. And they're going to pick the guy from Laredo.
Of course.
But they had to meet whatever requirements by the state or the federal government to interview at least X amount of people. Yeah. And I feel terrible for these guys that are, you know, leaving their job, their family, to be here for a couple of days, and then they bring them back from another, and then at the end, 90% of us won because we said they're going to pick the guy from Laredo. I mean, I wish those guys would have known, and that has to stop. What we did, there was a workshop, I think back in July, on how to pick a good city manager. And there's this company, human resources company, and explain to us what we need to look for in a new city manager, what it needs to have as a person, the experience. Because any position in government has to be somebody with experience in negotiations, with experience in diplomacy. You know, if you don't have that experience, if you never had your business, if you never managed a business or a company, or you had your own business, how can you manage a city? Yeah. You know, and that's what I keep telling, that's one of the qualities that not just a city manager has to have, but also councilman has to have, at least being a manager or in a management position for at least 10 years, because that person is gonna manage our taxes. So what I would do is go back to that company that what I understood is that they will bring you within 2-3 months 3 possible candidates. But they will do all the interviews of about 10, 12, 14 people, whatever people apply for the position. And then once they do that, then they'll be in charge. These are people from out of town with no connection to Laredo, and pick the best 3. Those best 3, they'll be presented to City Council, to Laredoans, and then they will get to pick which one, depending on what we're looking for, we'll pick the one. And I think that's a good investment because, as you know, the city loves to invest in or spend money on studies and master plans.
Yeah.
So I think a study or hiring that company will be a great investment. It will be an investment instead of just paying consulting firms for water issues $1 million every week.
And you separate sort of the politics from that decision-making process, and you have people that are not connected to the politics, and just choosing the most
politics,
qualified.
Going back to a conversation we were having earlier, the politics not only affect the work environment and people in the city, politics also get involved when it comes to tax abatements, when it comes to tax breaks, okay? Yeah. You can see the politics. I see city council who gets approved for tax abatements and who doesn't. And you'll see somebody that's been spoken against the city, he will not get the tax abatement. I mean, I can guarantee it. I mean, they know it. Yeah. And it shouldn't be that way. But you see companies from out of town, they get all the breaks, red carpets, all this media and all this commotion because this company from out of town is coming to Laredo. And it's good that another company is coming. Hopefully we can bring many more companies, but we need to have infrastructure and we need to have those tax breaks available to everyone. And I think city investors, Laredo citizens that want to invest in our city, that want to stay here, they need to have an extra incentive. In racing, in cycling racing, mountain bike racing, we used to have in Nuevo Laredo an extra price just for local riders. Between local riders, there will be an extra raffle, an extra something, because we wanted to get locals to participate. Yeah. So that's how you incentivize. So you want these investors from local investors to stay in town and to keep expanding. Those are the people you want. They know the community. They know the problems of the community because they've been around. You want to keep them.
They love the community.
They love the community. Yeah. They invest in the community. Give them something else. In my experience, one time, it took me 8 months to replace water meter. What happens in those 8 months? And it's just, this problem is not only mine. I've heard it from other investors. They do a $3 million investment. They do a shopping center, okay? And so these people are through, but they need the plat. Well, you're the city, you gave me the plat. Oh no, you bring it to me to the utilities department. But you gave me the plat. And to summarize it, it ends up being delayed about 8 months by the time you finish with all the paperwork. Those 8 months, this investor was paying property taxes. Yeah. He was paying interest on the loan, and he was producing zero income. And he was producing zero sales tax for the city as well. That's something that we're losing sales taxes. You're not just punishing this guy because he doesn't have the paperwork. You're losing on sales tax. You're losing on employment, okay? Because in the city, there's only 2 departments that produce revenue. It's the water plant and the bridges. Yeah. Everything else is an expense to us. So we need to start bringing in those sales taxes. We need to make it easier for that person. How do you make it easier if there's so many paperwork that he needs to file? Okay, one possible solution is give him the water meter from day one and give him 1 year to comply with everything that needs to comply by the city requirements. Yeah. And if he doesn't comply in a year, give him 4 extra months. Instead of the 8, give him 4 extra months. Then you fine him, give him a fine. Yeah. And if he doesn't pay the fine, you take away the water meter. But at least for that year that he's getting all the paperwork done, he's already producing employment. He's producing sales tax for the city, for the state, and he's receiving some income to at least pay property taxes, and his interest.
So yeah, and I mean red tape. You do hear about that being a problem, and that seems like a common sense solution to try to help the
All my
business
solutions for all the current and vital issues that the city has come at zero cost to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And they can be implemented in 1 week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just this is what I do for a living. Find solutions. So this is my
makes
bread and
sense.
butter. This is
Yeah.
So that's why I thought about that solution, from day one. And going back to about how toxic environment, there's also city council needs to lead by example. I always tell them, you need to lead by example. And they are the first ones breaking all the rules.
Yeah.
You will see they bypass everything. Like they should be an example. If certain thing should not be there, it should not be there. They put, I think in the 80s, 90s, we had 0 speed bumps. Every city council meeting, you will see they approve speed bump after speed bump after speed bump, even in cities that do not qualify, do not meet the criteria, because it's a political favor.
Yeah.
It should not be that way. You need to tell that person, your city, we did a study, does not qualify for X, Y, and Z.
You have you brought up a good point, and Laredo is blessed with a lot of growth, but with it comes problems. Obviously, one of the big examples is just the nightmarish traffic that occurs on Mines Road. Right now, we have been going through a boom in the last few years, more than anything with residential building. I mean, it's exploding. But you get a lot of this haphazard sort of development and special use permits approved left and right. And there's not a cohesive sort of strategy to plan things out long term. What would you propose to get that growth under control so that we don't end up having unintended consequences like nightmarish traffic, which can become even a problem when you have, for example, ambulances needing to get through there. You have people that have commutes where they have to go through there. It adds an hour to the time they're stuck in a car,
Ask yourself this question. We're going to approve this, and what's going to happen? What will happen? How, of course, goes back to experience. Based on your experience, what has happened when you do this? What has happened when you do the other thing? I'll give you another example. One time at City Council, it was proposed for all vehicles parked after 2 a.m. downtown, because you get free parking. It used to be from 6 until the following day at 8 in the morning. Yeah. I think they moved it up to 9 p.m. to 6 in the morning. They proposed all vehicles parked after 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. downtown will be towed on parking meters. And because people are abusing that. And that's fine. But then they didn't talk about the consequences. So that's when I send in my comment. What you're encouraging now is irresponsible driving.
Yeah.
Why? Because am I going to have to deal with picking up my car, who knows where? The towing company took it, and it's going to take me 6 hours all morning. I'm going to have to spend $300, $400. I'd rather just drive drunk.
Yeah.
So they didn't think about those consequences.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of you have to think what's going to happen. What if you were that person? How would you react? So I'm not that drunk. You convince yourself that you can drive, and you just encourage irresponsible behavior because they don't want to waste one day and $300 the following day.
Yeah.
And they might just end up killing somebody. So I think eventually it was not implemented. So, I mean, those are the comments that I go to City Council for.
I was going to ask you regarding the tax monies and regarding council members. I think that there was just a talk about increasing the discretionary funds that the council members receive. They, over the last 10, 15 years, they've increased their salary by just tens of thousands of dollars. They just recently gave themselves a pension. So basically, for a lot of these people, the city is going to be giving them $1,000, $1,500 a month for the rest of their lives for 8 years of what is a part-time job. And a lot of these people, they have jobs outside of being council members. Don't get me wrong, a lot of council members go above and beyond. They take it as a public service, as doing something for the community. But a lot of these council members show up to the meetings once every 2 weeks, 2-3 hours.
Or on Zoom because they're busy with their medical practice.
Their medical practice. What are your thoughts on that? Because you have basically patronage money.
I'll tell you, I've been a volunteer for the city as long as I can remember, 30 years. Like I told, building trails. Nobody ever paid me.
Yeah.
And sometimes, one time we lost the trail and we were having the state race and we were in a rush for a month. I dedicated about 8 to 10 hours a day building that trail between me and another 2 friends. On the weekends, we'll get more volunteers, but every day I was there building the trail without any money, my own resources, driving. So I'm used to helping the city. So that's what motivates me. And at the end, we did have the race. The funds we got, we donated to Casa Misericordia, one of those charities. And so I'm used to working for the community for free.
Yeah.
So for me, those funds that were acquired, those retirement pensions that they got, they were passed during COVID when people were not paying attention. Even like, as you mentioned, it's a part-time job. I would not take it as a part-time job. I would be a full-time councilman because, I run my business almost runs by itself. I just do quotes in the mornings. Once quotes are approved, everybody just, there's a domino effect and it gets done. So I will be a full-time councilman. And I would probably do more than my 40 hours a day. Should I be compensated for that? No, because I'm doing it as a passion, because I got involved, because I know I want to make improvements for the community. I want to get things done. I want to make more of what I've been doing before already. Another part that we haven't mentioned is I've been in contact with TxDOT through the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Webb County and Laredo. So I have a really good relationship with people from TxDOT. And I also have been critical in improving Tiendas Road and Highway 83 North. And that helps me, takes me the advantage because I'm already in it. I'm already in there. I can get things moving faster. And again, should I be compensated for that? No. That's the reason I'm running. That's why I want to be here, so I can get more things done. So I think the pension plans, I wish they shouldn't have them. Yeah. They were passed during COVID, and people are struggling. If there's extra money for the pensions, well, let's lower the tax rate a little bit. And that's what I want. And every year, council can decide to lower the tax rate. Even though your house appraises, you can lower the tax rate so people pay the same amount of taxes, even though the houses went up in value.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was just...
it's nice, don't get me wrong. I would love to get money for nothing. Yeah, I would love it. But not at that, not from mom and pop that are selling their vehicles, that are selling their barbecue pits, that are selling, personal stuff to pay taxes.
Yeah, I think the compensation just sort of became a greed thing in that we're going to milk this for all we can. And it just... that runs counter to my idea of what public service should be, in that you are not in it to try to take as much taxpayer money as possible for your own self. Yes, be properly compensated. I think that the salaries are too high, considering that the average amount of work that these guys do.
I don't even know what the salary is. I'm coming in here because I've been a volunteer all this time. I've been helping the community. I just want to get in there so I can do more. I'm the only candidate probably that is running on what I've done, not on what I will do. And, because that's the only way you can predict a person's behavior, by studying past behavior. What do I have in the past? These roads that I helped create, this grant that I was able, help get.
Okay.
All these community events that I do every year. For years, I've been doing 3 or 4 events a year, free to public, free to the families, free to everyone.
And I think that the citizens, the issue, the problem with government is that culture of there's a lot of public servants that are in it to try to milk the system. And then you get into extremes like what's going on at UISD, where a member of the board is set up a company to milk the system even more. And I think that we need public servants, a majority of public servants on the council, on these boards, that think more along the lines of, I'm here to serve, I'm here to help, I'm here to make this a better place to live, our schools better for our children.
That's exactly what my nephew asked me.
Yeah.
Tio, why are you running for city council? It was a simple answer. You just want to make your life better.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's what city council is there for, to make the life of the citizens better and to use and spend the taxpayers' money wisely. Those are the 2 objectives. Yeah. Not to put up more rules, not to get their friends into positions, not to bypass all laws where you're God. No. You are just another human being that's going to try to make the life of Laredoans better.
What is your thought on the role of city council regarding Mayor Pete Sines recently posted a Facebook post saying that there should be some sort of rules preventing city council members from interfering in the day-to-day jobs of the city manager and department heads, because that is a big problem and it ties into everything.
The micromanagement. Yeah, they want to do they want to influence every decision. Yeah, no. Why do you want that extra job? I mean, you're hiring somebody because you trust them. Yeah. And you're going to have to trust them. Yeah. If you don't, then you remove them. But if you're going to tell them what to do, then why do you hire them? Just hire anyone for way less money and tell him what to do. Yeah, the city manager should have his decision making, and that's why you need to get educated into hiring a good city manager, and he should have his independence as dictated by city ordinance, whatever it is, respect it. And if you don't, then let's change city charter, take it to the voters and see if it's okay. Yeah. Well, don't do it just because you want to.
I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the big issues that has been sort of popping up in every race is the binational park idea. And basically, the argument is, there's obviously a lot of very good arguments for it, and the arguments against it are it's $500 million that could be used to upgrade our water, fix our water, et cetera, et cetera. The city shouldn't be spending this kind of money on a park. And then you have, for example, recently, I don't remember, 3-4 years ago, there was a big referendum on the possibility of a new civic center.
Convention center, yeah.
A new convention center. And there was a campaign against, and the citizens overwhelmingly voted against it, which was very revealing, very telling.
Yes, the problem comes down to logistics. Let's go to the convention center first.
Yeah.
The convention center, as I always tell people, why is downtown Laredo not booming as other towns? Yeah. The root, the major problem is geographic problem that we have. Is located between 2 chaotic international bridges that have one way each, and it's always packed. That's the problem. You can change that. It's like saying, well, why is Laredo so hot? Well, let's try to make it, not as hot in the summer. We can't. Yeah. So downtown is already in that situation. If there's infrastructure created in the future, well, maybe, hopefully, and I still come downtown, even with all the traffic. I try to have lunch downtown 2-3 times a week. I love coming downtown. I go to La Posada often. But, most of my friends don't want to because it's inaccessible. And then it's a Mexican holiday. If it's a weekend, that's going to be stuck in traffic for 1 hour. Nobody wants to do that. We're not used to, in Laredo, being stuck in traffic for an hour. Yeah. So that big referendum, I was one of the persons that was campaigning against it.
Okay.
Recently, you can go back to my Facebook page. Why was I against it? Because it's a bad location and it's a bad use of our taxes. And as I told one person, And they kept saying, we need it. Yeah, having one would be good. We really need one. Well, if we really needed one, why did we sell it?
Yeah,
why did we sell it?
We had a good one. Yeah.
Spent $5 million, improve it. It was in a great location, close to downtown, next to a highway, major arteries, away far enough from the bridge where it was accessible, but close enough where people can almost come walking from Mexico. It was a geographically perfect location. Then why did we sell it?
Now everything is done on an ice rink in the middle of an empty arena. It just feels weird, man.
Yeah. At least it's cold. It's nice.
At least, the
nice
temperature
AC.
is good.
But
it's not a civic center, and we had one that fit that purpose perfectly.
I mean, we could do something, a convention center on that area. We have a real estate, and then you have the airport next to it.
Yeah.
We could even bring a tram, like the one at DFW, to go through through the convention center from the airport without any cost to the taxpayer, because since it's in the airport, we can get it can be federally funded. $0 to the taxpayer in Laredo. We can have a tram going to the baseball stadium, to the arena, and if we build a convention center and we decide to build one in that area, it will be connected. Yeah. You don't have to even get in traffic. So now moving to the Binational Park. There's so much we can do on that area, and I think we should expand that park that we have next to the river. It's beautiful. People love it. It has such a nice view of Laredo, because if you come to Laredo on International 2, you just see dead, all the empty landscape.
Yeah.
But if you come on International Bridge 1, you'll see that the park. I think we can expand it, and it serves several purposes. It will be the obvious reason. It will create a better quality of life for the Laredoans, safer for border patrols to do their job. There's no ambush. I'm sure they're constantly worrying about somebody hiding in the bushes with a gun. So it will be safer for them to do the job. But should we spend $200 million, $300 million, $400 million on it? I'll answer to you without picking sides. Let's take it to the voters.
Okay.
Take it to the voters. Let them decide.
A referendum.
Take it to the voters. That's the best solution. You don't have to pick a side. Let them decide.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you about a little bit about politics, because we're running out of time. Tell us a little bit about how the Marta Martinez, an incumbent, there wasn't really any noise of people running against him. Just like all incumbents, it's harder to run against an incumbent. Not that many people jump in. All of a sudden, word gets out, he's not running again. There's an open seat. Which means it's a free-for-all. A lot of the people that ran 4 years ago are running again. And you decided, now's my time to jump in. Is it something that you always wanted to do and never had done it? Or is it something that happened along the way that you said, you know what, enough's enough, or now's my time to jump, or I see a path to victory? What happened in your decision-making process?
Okay, several things happened. Yeah. One of them, it's hard to run against an incumbent.
Yeah.
You're almost about to lose. You can still win, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But my trajectory, it was taking me so long to accomplish certain things. For example, going back to Shiloh Bike Trails, which is the park that gets used the most, even more than baseball parks.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I live right above it, and the parking lot is full every evening.
And those are the people that show up in vehicles. People show up on their bikes. We have, all cyclists have this app. It's called Strava. Yeah. It's like a Facebook for cyclists. Most of us, and you'll see a red heat map where all the cyclists are there, okay? We sponsor a cycling team that represents Laredo, a youth cycling team. Yeah. And it's a middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. Laredo Cycling Club sponsors that. We encourage, healthy lifestyle starting from your youth. And that's where they train. And it took me about 7 years to get water in that park. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much pipe they use, probably 200 feet, water faucets. It was done in one day. But why did it take me 7 years? Why did it take me 7 years to get water for these kids? We're carrying water, every time they will train. People run out of water, they have to leave. We could have 1, 2 water faucets. I mean, it was so simple, but it took me 7 years. Forget about putting some landscaping underneath the water, so mud would not be created. I ended up just doing it myself. I went to Lowe's, I bought a bunch of rocks, a bunch of material, and I did the landscape myself, my own time, my own funds.
I didn't know that, man. It's great.
Yeah, no, I did that because I want change. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason I want to get in, so I can do more. And that's just an example. Things like that. Why are they taking me 7 years to help the community? Like, that water was not going to be for my business, for my sister, for my uncle. It was for everybody, for the citizens that are paying taxes. Why is it taking so long? And I just want to make sure things that are vital, like water, the water plant, gets done immediately. Why are we talking about a binational park right now when we have so many issues with the water? We need to get a new lab for those people at the Jefferson water plant. We need to replace some of the infrastructure, not $500 million as they wanted to get in March, but we do need to replace some infrastructure. We need to have better salaries for people, especially people at the water plant, because that's vital. You want to have the best people in your department. That's vital. Yeah. If we don't have water, this is a ghost town. So we need to keep those guys happy, good competitive salaries, good benefits. So we have always top-notch, water supply, and we can leave the rest. I mean, we should work on that, but later. Let's fix primary issues first. So this is what drove me to go in it. And then, not to say anything bad about whoever's running, but I don't think anybody has been to city council or read the agenda or done all the things that I've done for the community for the last 30 years with the experience in management than all the other candidates. Yeah. And this is key to being a good councilman. And so this is like my time is now, where I've been reading the agenda for 7-8 years, where I'm well informed where the city's at. I'm local. I know exactly what the issues are and how to fix them. As I told you earlier, I think most of the issues can be solved within 2 weeks without any additional cost to the taxpayer, and that's key, because we need to start looking at ways to save money so we can start lowering the tax rate, so citizens can start saving on their property taxes.
Fernando, we're running out of time. I'm gonna mention a couple of our sponsors, and then we'll have some final words from you, if that's all right. I'm still struggling to understand this system, but I'm getting there, man. Let me see here. I'd like to thank George Altgeld and his law office, the Altgeld Law Office, the Laredo's premier criminal defense firm. The Altgeld Law Office relies not only on its years of experience and proven results, but also makes use of cutting-edge forensic scientists and its team of private investigators to defend your freedom. I know George personally, and he has always fought to keep the government honest and to protect the rights of citizens. That's what he did when he was a prosecutor, when he was an elected official, and that's what he will do for you or your loved ones. That is George Altgeld. We have Mendoza Maintenance Group, Javier Cuate Mendoza. His company has over 20 years in doing industrial and commercial maintenance and cleaning. The Mendoza Maintenance Group, proud sponsor of Frontera Radio. We have another candidate for District 6, Vishwanath. He's a small business owner who has taken a stand on various issues facing the city. He will prioritize our water needs, keep our taxes in check, take a strong stand against corruption, and will get citizens involved in the decision-making process. Want different results? Make a different choice. We also have attorney Rene Benavides. He does personal injury law, criminal law, and immigration work. A great attorney, Rene Benavides. That does it for our sponsors. Thank you very much. Fernando, just let's. What else? We have time. Go ahead. Okay.
Well, if it's the last statement, I want to tell people, vote for the best candidate. Don't vote for your friend. Yeah. Don't vote for your relative. If I'm not the best candidate, then don't vote for me. Mm-hmm. But on this pack that is running, with the experience, with the management positions that I've been, I'm the best candidate for the job, and I get the job done. And that's exactly what I do as a business: get things done.
Tell us a little bit about that slogan, how you came up with it.
Well, that's
I like it because I like it. I like it.
You like it? Okay, yeah. Well, that's basically what I do. People come up to me, and the problems is not just trade industry.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, well, to give you an example, a friend of mine came to me once I sold my company. I want you to have all these problems. I had, right now, one of the trucks literally broke, split in half on Highway 35 outside Austin. On Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm there on a Friday. So I just got involved right away. And that situation, which was real costly, imagine moving freight from 35 on a Friday outside of Austin to a yard. We turned it into a $40,000 profit.
Wow.
And it's part of the skills that I have. And that's what I do for the trade industry. And even I want to get level this yard. I want to do this. Since I have all these people that I know, all this networking, because I've been here all my life, working from the oil fields. I started at the mall, oil fields. Then I started doing logistics, trucking, freight brokerage, custom brokers. So I work with everybody, so I know enough people to get something done.
And well, those are the main industries here in the city.
I mean, if you're not working in the trade industry, then it's hard to understand the problems that we currently have.
Yeah. Okay, well, Fernando, I want to thank you very much for coming in. Great conversation. Anything else? Elections November 8th. Early voting is starting.
Early voting starts October 24th. Make sure you take your friends to vote. I'll ask you to vote for me because you want somebody with experience, somebody that has the experience in the trade industry, experience dealing with city council, experience dealing with TxDOT, experience dealing with department heads. I've dealt with utilities, getting water meters and things related to those fields. So that's the proven experience that I have and the proven leadership from working in the trade industry.
Can I ask you just something? What's the state of our trade industry? There's a lot of pressure, a lot of competition from the valley, things of that nature. A lot of talk about the urgency of needing an additional bridge. What are your thoughts on that? The infrastructure that the city currently has for that industry, is it sufficient? Do we need to fix it?
Okay, to give an example, as anybody knows, Mines Road is congested. It's just 1 hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Once they started sending all the empty trucks that were coming northbound through Colombia, it just created a mess. So what we need to do is have the infrastructure outside of the bridges. I mean, because they want to expand the bridge, and it's good, but you're just going to create a bigger parking lot. If you don't expand Loop 20, they're already expanding it, one more lane or two more lanes, one northbound, one southbound, and that's what we need to do, expand our infrastructure, get another exit at the bridge, and move freight faster, But still, we will still have congestion in Mines Road, but hopefully that will alleviate it. That's vital. This is something we need to do now.
Yeah.
The next bridge, well, everyone is complaining about traffic on Mines Road. Why would you want another bridge in that area? There's not, as it is, it's crazy. So the opportunity to put it in the south, I think is a great idea for two reasons. One that no one is even talking about, besides creating all the freight, moving it hopefully straight into the loop, or straight into an outer loop that will be built, or even on, 83, it will get rid of some of the traffic on Mines Road, and, that'll be good. But another thing will be people from Monterrey will be in the United States in an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a good selling point. Because, if you travel from anywhere in Mexico, you want to cross into the U.S. ASAP. Get your burger, get whatever. You just feel like you already reached your destination. Yeah. Even though you still have to drive another 20 minutes to Laredo, you're already in the U.S. You're already past customs, because that's what creates anxiety.
Of course.
Passing customs, going through the highway. Once you're in the USA, they'll be relaxed. Now we're going to create a better economy in the South. On District 1, District 2, we'll create a better economy. And they need a better economy. And, by creating more traffic, their economy will boost.
Okay, well, thank you. I went off on a tangent there, but I mean, it's obviously an extremely important part of our economy, the main part of our economy, the international trade sector. Well, thank you so much, Fernando.
Thank you, Sergio.
That about does it for Frontera for today. We're going to keep on interviewing candidates. We have a bunch of very good candidates lined up, as well as many other guests. We're getting close to election time, to early voting and everything. So we're going to be speeding things up. And well, that does it. Thank you on behalf of Frontera. May God bless you. May you have a good night.